All right, this article comes out, says earning less than $30,000 a year is a deal breaker for daters. New survey finds. All right, let's check this out. Let's see what their findings are. According to a recent survey of 1,000 adults by Western and Southern Financial Group, first and foremost, salary deal breaker. If you're making less than $29,878, that's a deal breaker when it comes to dating. Now, let me first and foremost say I don't do a lot of dating, and some people think, oh, you must be doing it with a bunch of girls. I don't, and so I might be the most inadequate person to read this, but someone sent this to me, and I thought it was a good one to talk about. It says this is well below the median annual salary in the United States, which is $37,000. Let's do the math on that. So if someone's making $29,000, let's just call it $30,000 and divide that by an average. So you're making $15 per hour. Anything less than that supposedly is a deal breaker. Because that more than 1/4 or 27.2% of those surveyed, so they would only talk, they only talked about salaries after getting married. Very interesting. And 18.7% said they talked about salaries after getting engaged. So that's incredible to me. I think it's absolutely insane that you would not know the salary of the person that you are getting married to. Over a quarter of people, 27% of people literally don't know the salary of their spouse until after they have been married. Incredible. Student loan debt deal breaker. If you have more than $28,000 of student loan debt, that is considered a deal breaker. This is below the average amount of student loan debt someone with a bachelor degree has, which is 37,574, which basically means the average person that comes out with student loans from getting a bachelor's degree is a deal breaker when it comes to dating. Men are a little more forgiving of debt than women. The survey showed for men, $31,000 was a deal breaker. For women, it was $22,000 as a deal breaker. That's very interesting. Potentially having something to do with if she was going to have kids down the road, if she thinks that having less debt is important. But it just boggles my brain that someone would have $30,000-$40,000 worth of debt for a piece of paper that probably does not get them a whole lot when it comes to your career, honestly, and making more money, unless you're in something like a doctor, a lawyer, etc. But here are the questions. Ask your partner these 5 money questions. Experts agree that the sooner you discuss finances, the better. You and your partner should be on the same page when it comes to long-term goals and daily spending. I absolutely agree with this 110%. I truly believe that if there was a study done, that the number one real reason why small businesses fail in America is not because of the economy, not because of the labor market, not because of lack of funding or capital or anything like that. It is, in my opinion, relationships that are broken. Spouse relationships, family, friends, personal issues. When it comes to relationships, I think that for small businesses doing under a couple $1,000,000 in annual revenue, the biggest driving factor of bankruptcy and failure when it comes to business is their relationships going sour. Ask your partner these 5 money questions. All right, number 1 is, what are your financial goals? Okay, good thing to know, because if someone wants to become a billionaire and someone else is very happy with $50,000, $60,000 a year and they want to take 5 vacations a year and they care more about the vacations than they do about making $1 billion, probably a good idea to get on the same page. Now, I have not had to have these conversations because I've never gotten serious with anyone in a relationship or considered marrying them. So asking what your financials goals are, I would say though, very first date. Very first date, I'm probably going to talk about these things. If I think that we're going anywhere in a relationship, I'm probably going to ask about your financial goals. What are your financial fears? This is an interesting one. I probably would not have thought about this one. What are you afraid of? It's an important one. I think if you get to know someone, you typically get to see, personally, I like to really dig into people's finances, regardless if I'm dating them or just knowing them personally and seeing where they're at and what I can learn from them. And so potentially what they're afraid of, very important. Probably a lot to do with, honestly, how they were raised. I know me personally, the way that I was raised, probably a massive impact on the way that I look at money. And I think for most people, the way that they saw their mom and their dad or communicating about money and their relationship with money with their parents, I think that's actually a huge driving factor of people's relationship with money going forward. What are your non-negotiable items? Okay, very interesting. Very interesting. This is the type of things that's like, okay, what can you not live without in terms of expenses? For me personally, I don't have a lot of non-negotiables. I think the things that I have become non-negotiables, like being able to eat good food, I could probably not do if I had to. Like, it's not like a non-negotiable. For me, non-negotiables is I have to exercise every single day and I have to have a spiritual connection every single day. If I get those 2 things, there's not too many non-negotiables. Like, and I don't need a gym membership to be healthy and work out every day. I can like go outside and run. I can do push-ups. I can do body weight exercises. So me personally, I don't have a lot of non-negotiables. So if this video is for an interview for me, if someone wants to know these 5 questions because you're looking to date me, here you go. Okay. Number 4, how will we blend our finances? Okay, so this is really, really interesting. I personally, if I was to get married to someone, I would be blending my finances with them. And this is even more important for someone like myself that would be getting into a relationship with a lot of assets, a lot of businesses, a lot of money. You got to make sure that this is something you've talked about. How is the blending of the finances going to happen? And in my personal opinion, this is not for everybody. I personally, if I was to get married to someone and I'm basically committing them for the rest of my life, and even if you don't believe that, legally, you are connected with them 50-50. If that's going to be the way it is, I'm going to blend my finances with them. We're going to make sure I'm going to be on the same page. I would never, ever get even serious in a relationship, let alone marry someone without ever being very much on the same page about all of these things that are being listed here in terms of goals, financial fears. The financial fear ones, I'll admit, I did not think of that one. But the non-negotiable items and then blending the finances, how that's going to happen is extremely important to me. And if you actually go back, I interviewed Layla Hormozy, and one of the questions I asked her was specifically about this, because one of my biggest fears is if I was to ever get in a relationship or get married down the road, is what happens if, God forbid, something happens and they have a mental incapacity or something crazy happens and that leads to a breakup in our relationship. Now it's going to affect my businesses, which will affect my employees. And now, because of Augusta Nation, affect over 120 different owners and their businesses and their employees and their families. What is that going to look like? So the blending of finance is extremely important. And in my opinion, it gets more important the more assets that you have. How will we spend or save? Again, like knowing what their spending habits are, knowing what their saving habits, in my opinion, super important. Again, I could literally take this document and probably this would be the thing that I would love to go over in a first date. I think money is one of the driving factors of why most businesses fail. And a lot of times the reason those businesses fail is because of relationships. And the reason those relationships typically fail, a lot of times, it has something to do with money. Obviously, there's a whole lot of other things that go into a relationship, but time and time again, I see money being the driving factor of the stress that is creating fragments in the relationship. And those fragments in the relationship end up affecting the business.